You have just stepped into the Midlife Revolution, your space to ignite possibility, redefine purpose, and embrace the power that comes with age. Co-hosted by yours truly, Coach Wayne.
And I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis, and we're two seasoned coaches focused on the midlife community of color. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. In a world that sometimes forgets the power and the wisdom that comes with age, we're here to ignite a revolution and rewrite the narrative of this incredible journey.
So, whether you're navigating career shifts, rediscovering passions, or challenging the status quo, this is your space. So buckle up. Let's dive into the Midlife Revolution. Good morning. Good morning. It's a new month. It's a new season. And it stands to reason that Coach Wayne and Coach Stacy are here on the Midlife Revolution. Stacy, our intro was cut off, so let us tell the folk who we are. I'm Coach Wayne, and I work with men of color, helping them navigate midlife so that they come out on the other side the best. And this is Coach Stacy M. Lewis.
Hey, everybody. It is always good to be here. And I am so very excited today. And good morning to our dear sister, Audrey. Haven't seen her in a minute. Welcome to the Midlife Revolution. I am Stacy M. Lewis. I serve as a nonprofit executive and a coach for midlife women. And it is my joy to be here, really to serve. And so this time that I get to hang out with Wayne and talk about some of the relevant issues surrounding the midlife community is just a joy. It's just a joy. And we are just praying and believing that all is going to go well with our technology today. So we share that with our audience so that they can pray and believe too. Whoop, whoop.
Yep. And you're saying this because you know I'm on a hot spot today. Got up this morning and got a text message from our providers saying that the entire neighborhood has temporary outage in terms of our connectivity. So we stay connected anyway through whatever way we can. And the divine has allowed us today to connect via my telephone hotspot. And we're going to be hot today. It's Stacy, hot. It is. And Stacy, I make sure I check my calendar these days to be on spot. Today is June the 4th. So for all the June baby borners, or let's say happy birthday for you and to you.
Y'all. Happy birthday, y'all. And it's Men's Health Month. And one of our colleagues, I believe it's Coach Janelle, she says, no, this is now the 6th chapter of 2024. And so we are working on being halfway through 2024. And so it's a great time to be alive and having this conversation. What are we talking about today, Wayne?
Well, we're talking about, revolutions is our thing. So we're talking about the job search revolution and midlife strategies to empower your career. And why are we talking about that? Because some folk at this time are experiencing the dilemma of, do I stay here at the job and feed my spirit or just pay the bills? And some folk are forced to start looking around for new careers and opportunities, whatever it is. A lot of folks are becoming entrepreneurs because that's an outlet as well to deal with the financial issue that we're dealing with this time right now in this country.
Yeah,
so want to bust that up.
You mentioned, entrepreneurs, and I think even some of these nuggets that we are going to drop today, talking about outdated strategies, really also apply to entrepreneurs, right? To really thinking differently, afresh, in ways that help you move forward. So I'm really excited about this conversation and about what we'll be able to share with our listening and viewing audience.
Yeah, Stacy, you reminded me, you keep me grounded so often because I'll get some woo-woo ideas and get out there. And one of the things you said before we started in looking at today's show is that we need to start when we talk about preparing ourselves for career change, the strategy. One thing we must be centered on is the fact that we are the causation to the effect. So, whatever is happening in our life, in our domain, we have to begin with the looking at self. We have to look at ourselves first and try to figure out what strategies have we been using that's outdated, that are creating barriers. But the number one strategy, the number one thing to do is look at ourselves.
Absolutely. And when we think about looking at ourselves, need to look at what are our values. So before we even think about moving forward with a job search or even, expanding our entrepreneurial territory, what are our values? And how do those values translate into the workplace or into your business? And making sure that we're able to stand on that foundation of our values so that when we come across opportunities that might be in conflict with those values, we're very much aware that there's conflict there and know that that's maybe not how we want to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great point. And so let's kick it off. Before we even really start delving into it, reminding ourselves that we are our brand, right? We talked
Mhm.
about looking at self, and as a brand, how we show up, where we show up, when we show up is us. So it's so important
Absolutely.
that we are consistent and congruent with what you just talked about, our values. And, your brand is your identity. So it's
Mhm.
important that we also look at how we want to be seen, heard, and felt in the marketplace.
I couldn't agree with you more, Wayne. And we often, you and I both have adult children and or adult offspring. They're no longer children.
I
My
like
bad.
that.
Um, and, we often talk to them about their social footprint. And some of us, as more mature adults, forget that your social footprint is part of your brand. So if you're thinking and planning to move forward, as you've assessed and defined or redefined your values, and you're really looking at your brand, think about maybe some of the things that you've said out there in the social arena, and make sure that you take some time to really make sure that what's out there becomes more aligned with your current brand, right? We're all evolving, but making sure that what's out there is in alignment with your brand is important.
Yeah. Now, the work that I do with men in particular, executives who are trying to move up or change career or just doing an assessment, we start off with looking at what we typically would call career objectives. So, formally, we write a resume and we have this blob on career objectives where we
Hmm.
talk about what we want. The recommendation and suggestion that we want to put out there today, and pay attention, folks, take your pen and pencils out or get your keypads out. We want you to edit your resume to not focus on career objectives and the summary of your what you want, but speak in terms of what you bring to the table for resolving the gaps, the problems, the pain points, and the issues that are in the potential employee's mindset. So instead of focusing, which is what an objective does, uh, this is what I want for my career. We're not saying
Hmm.
give it up, but we're saying refocus that when you start looking around for career opportunities.
Absolutely. As you are putting yourself anew on paper, digitally or hard copy, and you want it to stand out, it should really magnify your strengths, and it should it's your objective. That doesn't need to be on paper. That's not really what interests any employer, and likely doesn't necessarily interest anyone that's looking to do business with you. It's what have you done? What impact have you made? How have you improved? And as you said, what skills did you bring to the table that then solved problems, right? The reason that companies and even entrepreneurs hire people is because there's a gap, there's a problem to solve. And so, really thinking about how your skills and assets help to solve the problem, is, I think, critical to, to your resume and to making it stand out.
Yeah, yeah. We talk about values in terms of, where won't you sell out? We talked about
Mm,
that earlier. Values as far as being in alignment with a person's mission and vision, right? We talked about that. But also, they need to recognize that you bring to the table, and this is a different type of value, but value as well, what we call in the business USP, unique selling proposition,
mm.
or your impact. What sort of impact can you make and bring to the table when you are looking for a career shift or change or opportunity? Because it is so competitive, Stacy, that when folks go out there, yes, you're looking for a job, but craft your seek and find, so to speak, in your advantage by making sure that you seem to add what we just talked about, value. you know so that's, I think, a shift in terms of an older strategy of how we prepare that resume, and we have a paragraph of just what we want, and we need to sort of shift that.
Yeah, I think, Wayne, again, so much of this is also applicable to those of us in the entrepreneurial space, right? When you put your offers out there as a coach, you are not simply saying, I'm offering this package of however many services for however many dollars. You are talking about the value that you have to offer, the impact that you have to make, and the problems that you are there to help people solve. That's what folks are paying for, right? So whether looking at a small company, an entrepreneur at a large company, the principles are the same, right? You need to show off the value that you're there to bring.
Yeah, thanks. And we could go on with that, but we're going to invite folks to connect with us for a discovery call where we can really identify where you are in terms of your search and what's blocking you, what's stopping
Mm,
you, what's preventing you from being in that place you want to be. And what Stacy and I can do from the discovery call with us, we're looking at maybe 30 minutes, is really identify what these areas are and give you a strategy. And you can decide whether or not we're good fits for you. The other thing that we want to talk about, Stacy, is sometimes we just send out like wildfire resumes to everywhere, to everyone, and applying to everyone is not a strategy or a tactic that's beneficial, because you must. It's kind of like, I say this, and I hope the animal lovers don't take offense, but it's like going hunting and shooting at a flock of bird, but just shooting, hoping that something flies into your shot versus taking aim and firing. Targeted approach is what needs to happen. Building your job search or your entrepreneurial venture around a space in the market that fits you. Identifying a pain point, for example, and then filling that with your skill set and your knowledge set. So don't apply
yes.
for every and anything.
Yes, I started to get my feathers in a ruffle, and then I realized where you were going. Got that pun? Um, You're so right that you don't apply for anything because you don't want just anything. You, in this season of our lives, we're really looking for opportunities that um, not only where we bring value, but then that bring value to us. It's not just about the financial compensation. It is about the work we are doing and the gifts and strengths that we are contributing in ways that are meaningful to us. So you don't want to just apply for anything and kind of litter the internet waves with your resume. You really want to be strategic, as you said. I love the way you put that, and I'm glad that we didn't kill any birds.
Absolutely. And it's really about structuring and having a strategy, right? And why is this helpful? Because job boards are everywhere, but especially if you're trying to move into C-suite, the majority of those jobs are filled before they land on job boards. In other words, folks like to get to know, like, and trust you, which means that on the inside, somebody is going to make a referral or a recommendation or have been watching a potential that fills a spot before, and why not, before widely putting it out there to anyone and
Right.
everyone. So it's important when you identify what you would like to do that you literally strategize, network, study what's going on, their mission, their publications, and I use a strategy of networking where you connect with people on the inside, if that's external to your domain, your job. Make friends, genuinely connect with folk. And once you build relationships, then you can say, hey, by the way, are there any opportunities on the inside? And now folk have had a chance to meet with you. And this is not an overnight thing. It may take you
Right.
several months to get there, but that's the strategy of taking aim before firing.
I love it.
Adapt,
I love it.
right?
I love
Right?
it. I think that there's so often where um, we don't use our network well. And really, that opportunity to build relationships, as you so lovely said, that's not right, but using that real opportunity to build those relationships not only gives you the window or the avenue to say, hey, is something going on at your place, or have you heard of any opportunities? But also allows for others to think of you for some of these opportunities that come across their desk based on the relationship. So I love that you highlighted relationship and networking in a way that's authentic, not in a way that is the exchange, but in a way that's authentic.
Absolutely. And conversely, I would say point number three, the first is making sure that you change your resume in a way that doesn't just speak to your objectives. The second
Hmm.
one is not applying to everything. And the third one I'd like to for us to talk about a little bit is don't ignore. You heard what I said before about don't apply to everything, but don't ignore the advertised jobs because this is a possibility to give you a lead and to have you start figuring out, hey, there is a need here. Perhaps I can drill down and figure out a little bit more of what's happening. And then this is obviously an opportunity for you to study and research
Yes.
that particular job and get on the inside. So don't ignore advertised jobs either, Stacy, for the same
Yes.
token.
You're absolutely right. Because the other thing about advertised jobs is sometimes they foster your ability to think differently. Because maybe you didn't necessarily look at the skill set that you have in the way that an advertised job is presenting it. Or maybe you realize in looking at this advertised job that oh yeah, I can do that. I would have never applied for this title or this company. But recognizing what it is they seek, you can see that alignment. So I think it's an excellent tip not to ignore the advertised jobs.
Yeah, yeah. Stacy, I wanted to just back up a little bit because as I'm thinking
Hmm.
about when we started off, you talked about looking at yourself and we talked about the brand. Invest in yourself is important too. So be willing to spend a few dimes on getting your resume professionally looked at and your LinkedIn profile professionally assessed, because how you show up is how people are going to remember and see you. And oftentimes you get just that one shot, one crack at that window, that first opportunity. So you want to make sure that you have all those things in place. I didn't want us to forget about that, Stacy.
No, that's a good nugget, really, to, as you're looking at your brand and how you're showing up, to think about your LinkedIn profile and other ways that you show up and making sure that they're looked at with a critical eye. I like the
Yeah.
idea of having someone that's what they do. They look at your LinkedIn profile or they look at your resume. And oftentimes, and it sounds like, you've done the same. I know for some of my clients, I've looked at their resumes. I've, hired many of people, and, I've looked at their resumes and made some very strategic suggestions, knowing that, they have the skill set. It's just about how they're putting it out there.
Yeah, yeah. Since we're talking so much about resumes, for midlifers, sometimes to avoid ageism, sometimes a strategy is where you don't want to go back 50 years on the resume, by the way. You want to keep it as fresh and as current as possible and as relevant. Nobody cares to know that in 1920 you ran a club, right? That's not relevant. And it really dates you in a way that may make folks think that you're not current. So
That
where
makes
you
folks
can,
think you are old. Just
yeah,
say it.
yeah,
Just say it.
yeah.
Like, come
So
on now. You have to.
yeah. So where you can, instead of putting dates, right, which is kind of like looking at a box in the supermarket and seeing the expiration, instead of putting dates, it sometimes makes sense to just bundle and talk about the qualifications rather than just the dates. In this year I did that, and just put those together somewhere on the resume. That's a little bit of a tip for folk who have gotten through the midlife era and feel like they're antiquated. You don't have to age yourself on paper, right?
Yeah, like Coach
Stacy.
Kelly said, 100 years of experience. That is certainly not going to be what makes anyone, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or someone in business or someone looking for the next opportunity, I don't think anyone is interested to know that you have 100 years of experience. And, we talked earlier about your resume, and it should not be this long list of things you've done. It should be a comprehensive, concise presentation of the impact that you've made, and not 100 years of experience.
And Stacy, during the holidays, I have had people who say they're taking a break from the search, right? It's the
Mm,
holidays. I'm not going to do anything. Hey, use their holidays to network, go to events and functions, show up and show out. This is where you're
yeah.
making some connections. So take advantage of it and get on out there. Don't take a break when you're looking for work or when you're trying to create opportunities and openings. In fact, since the flush of resumes and calls may be somewhat slowed down, you're in an advantage
Mm.
or at an advantage to rush through during the holidays.
Yeah, what I also think is interesting about the holidays, it's a time when, yes, people may be a little exhausted of talking about work, yet people are feeling very relational and very, some of us are feeling very generous and very giving. And some of us want to know how we can help someone, how we can bless someone, even especially during the holiday season. So it's an excellent time for networking, just reconnecting with people. We talked about a little while ago authentically networking and building those relationships. And the holidays, while you might see some really good job postings, right, that came out, say, in early December, and now it's mid to late December or the beginning of January, and folks are now saying, oh, I gotta go. But think about how you've really optimized that time this season, building relationships and saying, okay, it may not be the time to apply, but it might be the time to really just foster your network and reconnect with people that might be your next opportunity.
Absolutely. We're almost there, Stacy. But before we go, a couple of things. One is kind of to wind up a little bit. Gimmicks. Avoid gimmicks. Don't figure that you're going to reach out to the recruiter and send them a box of chocolate or some balloons or flowers. Those kind of gimmicks you may see on TV, but the recruiter doesn't work for you, right? Remember that. They are working, the talent acquisition specialist, they're working for the company. So
you
avoid
also
those.
don't know. They might be allergic to chocolate. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The reality is that your value that we talked about in the beginning, the value that you bring, the impact that you've made, that's what you want to stand out. Not, the dead flowers that you sent because you sent them on, say, December 20th, and now they've been sitting in somebody's office for a week and a half, and they're just getting back to the office and the flowers are dead. You really want to make sure that what stands out is in alignment with your brand. And so while gimmicks and flowers and chocolate and all of that may have worked back in the day, that is not the way to go. Really, what you want to stand out is you, your value, your brand, and the gift that you have to bring.
Yeah. Stacy, we're almost there. And again, it's Men's Health Month. First of all, thanks to everyone who's tuning in, our usual folks that are on. We appreciate you so much, sir. And so
absolutely.
Absolutely. When you listen in to the replays, please still send us a note. Let us know the sort of stuff you want to hear and see on these chats. And for the men who are interested, later on, you'll see all our links. Please feel free to connect with me so that you can subscribe. It's a free subscription to my newsletter. I have a post this week on 4 must-have screenings for men, and one includes your prostate. The other 3, you got to read it to check it out, but please feel free to do that and connect with us. So, Stacy, we are going to do this again when?
I will see you, our listening and our viewing audience, next Tuesday. If I don't catch you on those replay streets, certainly it is always our joy to spend this time with you. We hope that indeed anything that we had to share was of value to you. Please make sure to let us know. And thanks so much for being part of the Midlife Revolution.
Yeah, have a great week and enjoy until... And there you have it, folks. This week's episode of the Midlife Revolution. Hey, we truly appreciate you spending this time in this space with us. Join us next week at the same time as we dive into relevant topics and present solutions to spark new thinking and empower your midlife journey.
Don't forget, if today's episode resonated with you, Share your thoughts and suggest topics in the comments. And of course, remember to subscribe, share, like, and hit that notification bell. You are the Midlife Revolution. I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.